Shit, Tupac's greatest hits. Speaking of changes, I wanna change this game like I'm losing in Madden, 30-6. Like that, y'all. Some people they fiend for things they've already seen. I think they wanted me to be like that, y'all. But it wasn't my scene. I started doing these things that made them.
What is up, Lilac City, and welcome back to Spokast. I have my friend Taci VanLeuven Riddle back on the podcast. She is from Sweet Home Local. She's a real estate agent here in Spokane, and this is a new quarterly podcast, like I mentioned last time, where Taci will help me dive into the heartbeat of Spokane's real estate market and give me insight and us insight into those market trends that are shaping the Lilac City. To give you a little bit of a background, if you didn't listen to the last episode, Taci has been a real estate agent in Spokane for the past 8 years and has consistently been one of the top producers in the Inland Northwest. And it's her passion for helping people in the Spokane community that make the perfect marriage to assist first-time home buyers and local investors looking to expand their portfolios. Currently, Taci works for 4 Degrees Brokerage and recently launched her business brand, Sweet Home Local. If you're interested in learning more about Taci and Sweet Home Local, or know someone who's looking to buy a home in Spokane, go to sweethomelocal.com. On this episode with Taci, we talk a lot about where in Spokane you can get the most bang for your buck right now, which neighborhoods are trending up in value, and how you can be the most savvy investor. And I learned a lot in this episode, and I'm very excited for you to hear, because there's just a lot of nuggets in this about the Spokane real estate market and where people should be spending their hard-earned money in the market. If you're looking to buy or if you're looking to invest, it's something that I think comes up a lot for people living here in Spokane, and that's why I wanted to do this podcast with her on a quarterly basis, is to kind of just give us all insight into what is trending in the current real estate market. And Taci has a lot going on in the real estate market here in Spokane, and I love her insight. I'm excited for you to hear it, but before we get into it, let's hear from our sponsor and our Spokastanites. And when I mean let's hear for them, I'm going to read my ad for my friends over at Main Market Food Co-op. They were founded in 2010 with just 700 member owners, and in the last 14 years, it has become a vibrant part of downtown Spokane with over 9,000 member owners today. Its focus is on equal respect for its consumers, producers, and the environment, and Main Market is dedicated to offering the highest quality foods with the smallest footprint while supporting the strength of our local food economy. They have a produce section that features local in-season fruits and veggies, and a bulk department that offers a wide selection of teas, spices, grains, dried fruit, and snacks. And when it comes to their deli, Main Market cannot be beat. They have everything from a lunch bar, breakfast bar, salad bar. They make 4 made-from-scratch soups daily, and to top it all off, they have a full-service burrito bar. So whether you're looking for a delicious meal or a well-stocked grocery store, Main Market Food Co-op is the place for you. They're right across the street on the corner of Main and Brown in downtown Spokane. Go support them. Go get some local foods from Main Market Food Co-op. This podcast could also not be done without my amazing Patreon supporters, and we got a new one to welcome in today. They are Enrique de la Novelle. Thank you so much for joining the Spokastanites. I need to get you a sticker somehow. Other Patreon supporters are Joe Williamson, Joe Van Voorhis, Elizabeth Geyer, Abby Pointer, Gina Campbell, Tyler Poole, Judy Pointer, Amber Sparks, Luke Baumgarten, Valerie Ozier, Nick Spanger, and Elizabeth and Bill Pointer. Again, thank you all so much for being Patreon supporters. If you want to support what I'm doing here at Spokast, visit patreon.com/Spokast. Well, I will not keep you any longer. Here is Taci VanLeuven Riddle of Sweet Home Local. This is Spokast. Well, I'm sitting here with my friend Taci VanLeuven Riddle of Sweet Home Local. Thank you again for coming on the podcast. I think last time I mentioned I really want to make this a quarterly series. I want you to come on, every 3 months or so and talk about the real estate market, what's going on in Spokane. I will also encourage everyone to go listen to our first episode we did back in like October and listen to that. Kind of introduces Taci, what she's doing here in Spokane with her real estate group, and then some of her favorite places in Spokane and all that. But I want to ask, like, how have you been over the last 3 months? We had Christmas, New Year's, like lots going on. You have a farm, you have a beautiful furry cows. How's everything going?
Well, the cows are adorable as always.
Yeah, they are very, very adorable.
Couple new babies.
Ooh,
I get to name them on occasion, which I appreciate. We have a little baby Bean, who's adorable.
That's awesome.
Yeah, what else? It's been just a crazy for everybody. I mean, holidays and New Year and spring is all of a sudden around the corner.
Spokane's so weird with our weather. Like, I'm 40 years old now, and like I've lived here for about 35 years of my life, and I would never get used to it being 10 degrees one week and then 50 degrees the next week. I'll never get used to it.
No, well, this is first spring. This is fake spring, right? There's winter. There's fake spring, there's winter again.
Yep.
Then there's kind of real spring.
Yeah.
And then we get like a 2-month blip of summer.
It's true. But I hope we get a little bit more summer this year, but who knows? I know all the skiers are really upset right now, all the people that love winter sports. And so I feel bad for them. I'm not a winter sport person, but I also know we need snow in Spokane. It feeds our rivers. Makes sure things don't like go up in smoke in August and July, so we need more snow, and so I hope we do get another like second winter, and I hope it like dumps on us so my friends can go snowboarding, skiing, and we can like make this like ground more like not gonna burn, in the summer.
And I'm married to a farmer too, so I'm constantly hearing about the rain and the weather and the predictions for spring. So it's rain is good.
Before we get into like the real estate stuff, I'm curious to know, like, have you found any new places around Spokane that you've like been enjoying? You got me a delicious coffee from Hatch Coffee downstairs.
I did.
It is very good coffee.
Yeah, Hatch is great. I have actually spent a lot of time in like way north. I have a couple listings in Loon Lake, and so I've been spending time in Deer Park and the Loon Lake area, and I have found probably one of my new favorite coffee shops. Actually in Deer Park. It's called Lofty Skies.
Oh, cool.
Have you heard of it?
I know I haven't. My family lives there. My mom and my brother live there in Deer Park, and that's awesome that there's a cool place in Deer Park to go try out.
Oh my gosh, they have breakfast tacos.
Ooh,
which
breakfast
is like
tacos. Wow.
Egg and avocado and pesto and all these cute couches and there's a cute shop in Deer Park that, ladies, if you're listening, they have risen jeans, which apparently is the new hot trend in jeans.
Oh, wow.
I don't even know, but they're cute. The shop is super cute. It's called The Local. So Deer Park has been on my radar at the last few weeks.
That's great.
Fun.
And I will say, like, the properties that you've like shown on your socials, on your personal, on Facebook and on Sweet Home Local, like that Loon Lake property, that looks like a dream place.
It's so cute.
What looks like doesn't look like a house, like a cabin. Looks like a house on the lake. But
no, it is.
It is a house.
It is a house.
Right.
For sure. It's a brand new construction house.
Oh, it's okay.
Yes. Not an old cabin. It's adorable. But yeah, that's another cute community. Loon Lake for the win.
I spent so much time up on Loon Lake. We didn't have a lake place when I was growing up. We didn't really know anyone with one either. But we went to Granite Point, and Granite Point has just been a place that we would go to all the time when we were like from grade school to high school. Friends would bring boats out there. It's a nice little community up there.
They're just doing a whole remodel to Granite Point. There's like a brand new restaurant that's opening this year.
That's amazing. Oh, it's so cool.
Yeah, you'll have to go back.
Yeah, but is that Landon Foss?
No.
Okay.
They have Shore Acres, which is another place on Loon Lake, but they just have a bunch of cabins that they rent out.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Our friend Landon Foss owns that, and that's another place you go visit on Loon Lake. It is really, like, Loon Lake, I mean, it's only like 30 minutes north of Spokane, but like we've went and stayed up at the cabins at Granite Point, and it is like a little staycation, but being close to home, but like being out of Spokane. It's a nice little place. So.
Yeah, it's adorable.
Well, I wanted to talk about something that you mentioned on your I just want to make sure I was going to open up your reel and I want to make sure it was silenced. The other day you were posted about the predictions of 2024 and, buying houses, like where you want to buy in Spokane, all this stuff. And I was like, oh, this is going to be great content for the podcast, because I feel like now that, I really don't know what, I should ask that first. What is the temperature in the real estate market right now in Spokane?
Yeah, well, it's always kind of a dancing game of what's going to happen with the rates and what's going to happen with inventory.
Yeah.
I do know they just released, it's called like the BLS jobs report, which plays a big game on interest rates. It has a big weight on it. So interest rates, they went up a little bit recently.
Yeah.
But a lot of local people were worried about the rates dropping too fast because right now buyers are getting incentive. Like they're getting some of their closing costs paid for.
Yeah.
They're getting home sale contingencies. Like they can buy contingent on selling their home, whereas you couldn't do that a year ago. No seller was accepting that. So it's still on paper, it looks like a seller's market.
Okay.
But it's still soft for buyers. Like it's pretty neutral, which is kind of where we want it to be be honest. So spring market hasn't totally peaked yet. No buyers are really having to compete with 10 other offers right now, which is good. So the fear was that if rates dropped too fast and all these buyers came back out, then thered be bidding wars all over again. So that hasn't happened. So it's kind of maintained steady, if you will. We haven't seen the big flux of, the spring market inventory go up yet, but it's kind of a good neutral spot right now.
Well, I guess it's a good place to be at right now. And I want to get into these 2024 predictions and, seeing like where in Spokane you can get the most bang for your buck. Cause I know there's a lot of people that I've met a lot of people that have moved to Spokane and they're looking to buy. And I say I love Millwood, I love Audubon, I love, the South Hill, places like this, but like, I don't know what's the best places to buy for the market. Like where are those places right now in Spokane?
Yeah. Ooh, so this is where we dig in. One of my favorite little sleeper neighborhoods, I call it, where value has just kind of keep going up and up, and it's a good little neighborhood, is the Garland District.
Yeah.
That's where I bought my first house. And that's where I have a couple rental houses, and it is cheaper than the Audubon Downriver area, even though you're 8 blocks away. Yeah. So it's more affordable to get into, but you still have the walkability, you still have all the cute shops, you still have the growth in the neighborhood. So one place, if you're investing, is a big umbrella, but if you're looking at to be in a neighborhood or to have a rental house in a neighborhood, Garland District is one that still is kind of holding steady. And you can get in a little bit cheaper, especially if it's a home that needs some updating, add value to it. And I think that's going to be there's some construction, there's some things going on in the neighborhood that are only just going to increase the values in there.
Yeah. So you said you bought your first house in Garland?
I did.
Did you keep that as a rental, or did you end up selling that?
I did. No, I still have it. It's actually a furnished rental.
Oh, wow.
So it's a midterm. It's a lot of traveling nurses and traveling executives, but it's doing great now. There was a point I bought in 2008. Yeah. Which, come to find out, was a terrible time to buy.
Right, yeah.
And then I was upside down in it for a few years because I owed more than it was worth. But I held on to it and did some remodeling over the years. And now I think it rents out for like $2,100 a month.
That's awesome,
and it's a tiny little bungalow, but that's a good neighborhood, yes.
I mean, so this is a good place for first-time home buyers and for people who are looking to invest. And
totally.
Man, I just that's one thing I don't know. Maybe I just don't want to be a landlord, or I don't want to deal with being a landlord. But I feel like when you buy that first house, you have such an opportunity if you make a good purchase that you can end up making an investment property, even if you're not trying to make it an investment property, right?
Totally.
Yeah. And so many people are doing that in Spokane right now. Outside of Garland, what are the neighborhoods that are that are trending up in value, like that are getting better?
Yeah. So Hilliard, a lot of cool things are happening in Hilliard right now. There's the United building. Have you heard of that? Like new restaurants, new shops.
Yeah, Loco. Like I think it's called Locos is in there. Grain Shed's in there.
Yep.
A toy store.
Yeah.
My friends were a part of helping do some of the remodeling in there, and it's a really cool spot. Like and now the high, like if you live up north, you can get there pretty quickly.
Right.
Like the North South Freeway, when it gets done, I think it will add a lot of value to that area too, right?
Oh, for sure. And that's actually another neighborhood that I wrote about in that little article. My predictions was, I called it the North, but like the Colbert, Meade, the opening of that North-South corridor is going to, well, a lot of reasons. The Growth Management Act, have you heard of that?
What is that?
Basically, Spokane County follows population growth and housing inventory, and there's like a 20-year plan that started, I don't know, I'll have to look up the numbers, but I think it's like 2017, and they have a 20-year plan, and Colbert is one of the areas that is slated for urban growth.
Okay.
So basically they can rezone areas accordingly to allow for more housing or
like multifamily units too.
Yeah. Yep. So everything can just kind of be adjusted in those areas that are slated for growth. So that's one spot too. If you get into Colbert, and there's such a wide variety. There's like the older split level homes that you can totally update and add value to. There's a bunch of new construction you can get into. There's bigger lots up north and in the valley than the city lot. So I think that's another part of town that's going to be a good spot to buy in.
Yeah.
If you want to be there, long term.
Long term. And there's always like, I mean, growing up on the north side in Colbert, like there was, I was growing up, there was a lot of things going in, like Yelks was going in there, McDonald's went in there. But as I go up there more, like there's even more stuff that's up there now, like little strip malls. And I mean, and I got to imagine someone has to be putting in a Kindle Yards-esque type of place up there someday, right? Like,
have you heard about it?
No.
It's happening. It's in the works.
Oh, what is it?
It's called Mead Works.
Oh.
You are a psychic, Brennan. You predicted this?
I did not. I really did not know about this. It sounds like I planted this, but I did not know about this.
That was nice. Well done, sir. The area behind the Costco and the old Kaiser. There's just a ton. I don't know how big the spot is, but Greenstone.
Oh, okay.
And that's who started Kendall Yards.
Yep.
Greenstone bought a bunch of that, and it's projected for like the next 15 years to be a next Kendall Yards.
Oh, wow.
Like the mixed use space and the buildings and the cute townhomes. And
yeah. That's so cool. There's like so many places that are like coming that are doing that. Like I know Greenstone did the Liberty Lake similar property, the Kindle Yards. Jordan Tampion with 4 Degrees, who you work with, is doing a thing on Upriver Drive. That's a similar type of property that's like Kindle Yards. And like, I feel like those little pockets just make the surrounding areas so much more attractive to home buyers.
For sure. It's new construction. It looks nice. It's kind of a central hub where it's like a destination at that point.
Right.
So you're living in a desired little destination point.
Yeah. And I think the other great thing about when those places go into those places is that I think the property values go up, but like the people that have lived there and, can either sell or they can either, like there's a lot of the diversity of who's living there is wide, which is also nice. I think having a mix of, low income, middle income, and high income is, how you get places to be more lively, I feel like.
Absolutely. Yeah, I totally agree.
So like as you learn more about this, like being like an investor in this type of market, like how can one be like very like, well, as you say, like most savvy, like if someone is looking to buy, like what is like Like, explain that, like being a savvy investor.
Yeah, that's a multifaceted sentence too, or question, because every person, I have some investors that really want to be hands-on. They want to know, like, have input in the property. They want to have, screen the tenants and have long-term tenants live in a house. And then I have some investors that say, hey, I have this chunk of money. I just want to put it in something and watch it grow. I want to invest in real estate and be hands-off. So I think it kind of depends on, and there's honestly not one right answer. I was so frustrated when I was first starting into real estate. I'm like, I just want to know what the best way is.
Yeah.
Somebody tell me what the best way is, and that's what I want to do. But it's so different. I have some like a short-term furnished rental, and I have a management company run it for me because I don't want to be cleaning every, couple weeks or whatever. And then like with Jordan Tampion, there's a company called 4CAP. It stands for 4 Degrees Capital. Yeah. And we jumped in on a project that is like a 72-unit apartment complex being built in the valley. Oh. So that's another avenue. But I think if you want to be a savvy investor, I think it's having a conversation with people who have done it to find out what your strengths are. If you want to invest in, 16 months worth of a project and then be done, if you want to have a 30-year project of owning a home and then watching it build equity and having it for retirement, that's another avenue. But I think to be savvy, you have to ask all the questions and know what you are good at personally.
I should ask, like, this is a question that I really don't know much about, because like I wish I would have invested back in like 2009, and and I don't know if I would have been able to do that. It sounds like hindsight's isn't that, is it hindsight's 2020? That's not right. Is that the right saying? But like right now, like being an investor, like if you're probably like my age or 40 and you have the ability to purchase, a property, to invest, like what does that set you up for in the future?
Well, retirement's a big one.
Yeah.
So if you find a property right now that you can just have some long-term tenants in and have a company manage it and be super hands-off, when you want to retire in 20 years, you have 20 years of equity built up.
Oh, it's true, yeah.
In a property.
Yeah.
And then you can sell. So if a lot of people are just now moving out of their parents' house in late 20s and early 30s. So if you find a duplex or a triplex, and if you live in one side, rent out the other sides, you have it made. You have income coming in, you have your housing paid for.
When you're a first-time home buyer or you're buying like a multi-family, is a loan process different because is it harder? Is it easier? Or is it a little bit more complicated?
It's just different.
Different. Okay. Not even complicated.
If you, for an FHA loan, for example, if you want to buy a multi-unit property, you have to live in it. It has to be owner occupied for X amount of years. Even some conventional loans. If you want to have a certain type of loan program, sometimes they'll mandate that you live in it for a certain amount of time. Then sometimes the down payment will change. So sometimes you can't get, a 3% interest rate on a fourplex, but sometimes you can. Yeah. Like if you're going to live in it, then a lot of different variables.
Could you realistically, if you buy a triplex or a fourplex, like you could be buying a house and making money at the same time, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, like that does. I wish I would have done that when I bought my first house. Like I could have when me and Abby were first, buying a house. Like we could have probably just bought a duplex or a triplex, and we could have, we would have lived in it for 10 years, moved out, and we'd still have it. And now, it's
hindsight.
Right,
I know.
Right.
I know. I love my little first-time home buyers for that reason. Like, sit down, have a conversation, figure out goals, and then, hey, that can be an option
for sure. What about like people that are selling right now? Like, I know like it is a seller. You said it's somewhat of a seller's market right now, even though it's kind of even. but like, is there? I know last time we kind of focused on people moving into Spokane, but is it getting easier, or like are people like? I mean, that's not what I'm asking. And I'm gonna reset. I'm gonna go back to multifamily use. I want to retire in Spokane. I want to live here probably my whole life. Maybe maybe if I snowbird, I'm still snowbirding down in Maui. Like I'm not going to go down to Arizona. But I was just like, what about someone who wants to invest in like a condo right now? Because like maybe they want to, like maybe I want to live downtown someday when my kids are out of school, and I don't want to live in a 6-bedroom house anymore.
Sure.
That's probably a good investment to buy a condo or something similar if you want to move into it someday?
That's a great plan. I mean, in that specific example, condos are different because now you're dealing with HOA fees. You're dealing with some buildings that don't allow like short-term tenants, or most are okay with long-term tenants. But and there's also different loan programs for second homes as opposed to investment properties.
Gotcha.
So if that's going to be a second home, then you can typically have less of a down payment and get into it for a little cheaper.
Right.
And then rent it out and have somewhere. I have clients too right now. They live in California. They just bought a second home in Post Falls because they have family in Post Falls, so they travel up a lot. But they're going to rent it out when they're not here. Yeah. So they got a great deal buying it as a second home. And then it's going to be an income producer when they're not staying there in the summer. So, yeah, it's a great plan.
What is the market like for Airbnbs and things like that? We don't really see much of that in Spokane. At least I don't. Like, I don't stay at Airbnbs in Spokane. I've stayed in like one or two. But, like, is that what you're saying? Like, people getting a loan like that, is that considered like a short-term like tenant? Is that like, because like I know there's a lot of rules about that around the country because it's been a hot topic.
Yeah.
But like, do people buy properties to make them into Airbnbs? Is that
totally? Yep. So I mean, short-term would be, I think it's considered anything like less than 30 days.
Okay.
So Airbnb is a prime example of a short-term rental, and Spokane had its moment for Airbnbs. Okay. Probably, 2 years ago even, there were a ton of investors buying places in Spokane to make them Airbnbs. You think of Hoop Fest and Bloomsday and, weddings. People have weddings in Spokane all the time and come to visit family in the holidays. So that was a really hot market. I feel like the Airbnb situation in Spokane has mellowed significantly. It kind of got oversaturated.
Gotcha.
Where there was a ton available and then you weren't filling them.
What does that do to the market? Like, does that make it a harder market like to sell, or does it make it like? I've always been curious because I also know like there's a little bit of stigma that comes with like people turning properties into Airbnbs, but like it is definitely a way to have an investment property.
Oh, for sure. I mean, there's a rental market and then there's like a buy and sell market. So,
okay.
With the rental market being flooded, it's the same thing with housing inventory. Like if you have a bajillion houses for sale, you're not going to have the demand. So it's kind of the same supply and demand.
Gotcha. What is the market for rentals right now? Is there a lot of availability, or is it hard to get in a rental? I know that a lot of people complain about their rent and how the cost of it, or it's going up, or like, what is that set by? Is it set by the
demand?
Demand. So there's not a lot of availability, I'm assuming.
Well, it's just in the last, since COVID, probably there's been a lot more like built big apartment complexes being built. So there's a little bit more availability, which makes a little bit less demand.
Yeah.
Last year, I think the rent prices were peaking.
Yeah.
So everybody was saying it was really hard to find affordable rental homes. As the inventory has increased, the prices will settle down a little bit.
Okay.
So, and I think there's some more landlord-tenant laws too that are keeping everybody accountable for, not spiking prices or gouging tenants or.
Yeah.
eviction laws, and I haven't been a master of all that.
Yeah,
so.
I know that's also like a really like, I have a friend who does property management down in Oakland, and he often talks about how hard it is, and I know it's like, it's a very like, it's a very political.
Totally
like,
is. It's a hot
conversation.
topic.
It's a very hot
Yes.
political, and I'm not trying to get into
Yeah, I'm
that.
like, I don't know. Keep me out of that one,
I know
Brennan.
you're right. I know it's just always curious to know like about like, because you see all these properties going up, like and especially all these multi-use family properties and like 15 units, 20 units, like we have the one going on in Monroe with Indaba going into it. Is that a Jordan Tampion property, or
I don't think so.
That might be a Rencore place with Chris Batten. There's so many places. There's so many property developers, and like, but like having all of this new, availability, like that has to be good for Spokane's economy, right?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, the more people that can have affordable housing and, I mean, the better for any economy.
For sure, yeah. It seems like, I mean, I feel like there used to be this not many, like they were either on the north side, in the valley, to see all these new mixed use places come into, our corridors, like on the main streets, like that's what I think Spokane is missing in terms of like getting people into these places so it feels more safe and more welcoming, because where there's people living, typically there's people, it makes for a more safe environment. But
and it's totally like probably, I mean, pride of ownership too.
Right. Mm-hmm,
right. If you have people living there, you take care of where you live.
And having the mixed use of like properties or like businesses at the bottom, like that are always like occupied, like is also very like helpful for, just the economy itself. Like I mean, seeing all these places, like especially with Jordan Tampion opening, like buying Garland, like, and we just talked about this on our last episode, is just how like putting more people into that space in Garland is, like you said, is going to make that neighborhood such more diverse and such a really cool place to live.
Yeah, just thrive. Anytime you can have, farmers markets and neighborhood fairs and, walkable shops, and you bring people in as a destination, then it's picking up that area for sure.
Yeah. How's Taci doing with, like, I know it's like kind of a little bit slower now. Are you gearing up for spring, and like what's making you excited about what's coming in the real estate world in Spokane in this next couple months?
Yeah, I actually have already been picking up. The last few months for me have been busier.
Oh, great.
That's
awesome.
kind of par for the course for winter.
Yeah.
I mean, in Spokane, the real estate market is so dependent on the weather. So we'll slow way down, and no one wants to move when it's snowing.
Right.
So less inventory, less buyers looking, slows way down. But picking back up, like the lake listings, the summertime, spring market, people coming back out, and I've had more meetings. I just love meeting with people and coming up with a plan. So I feel like the spring season, the new year, people are starting to think about their planning for the year.
Yeah.
What are the goals? So that's what I'm excited about.
That's a great question. I have friends that just moved here from England. They've lived in Spokane before, at least my friend Jesse has, and they just moved to Spokane. They decided they didn't want to live in England anymore. It wasn't the place for them to make a life. And they're like, where should we go? And I was like, you got to come to Spokane. Like Spokane, I love Spokane. And they moved here with their 8-year-old son, and they're in a 3-month Airbnb. So if you were Jesse, would you be like, I need to start planning this now if I'm going to be wanting to live in Spokane for a long period of time? Like, I don't even think it's something they've thought about. I mean, they probably have, but they should be planning with someone to like do that.
For sure.
Because I feel like people just go and they just buy a house. Like me, and I know like that's how I've always done it. Like I'm just like, oh, we're ready to buy, and sometimes that process takes 3 months. But it always started with the fact that like I want to buy a house today, and then I just like, and that process takes 3 months. But like what you're saying is like if you're planning on making that decision in 3 months to buy a house, you should be planning for it now.
Anytime in the next year.
Okay.
Honestly, probably yesterday you should start planning for it, because especially as the rates are going up and down and the spring market is going to be getting crazy, start planning now so you can gauge, one, what your rate is going to be. That's a big one to get locked into before the rates kind of fluctuate again up and down. But also kind of like give you time to drive the neighborhoods and figure out, you know, what your long-term goals are. Do you want to be here for 2 years or less? Then maybe we should look in this price point or this type of home. Or are you planning a long-term? Never too early to start the conversation. Yeah. And those are the best ways to do it, because then it's not a rushed, oh my gosh, my lease is up in 3 days. Where am I going to go? Yeah. You know?
How many people like do like just waiting? Like, is that like a majority of your clients? Like they're waiting until like I was recommended to you because I'm looking to buy this house. Is that there's always the one house that got away tends to start a lot of people's journeys, where they see one perfect house, but they haven't been pre-approved yet. Yeah. They don't know what their monthly payment is going to be with the taxes and insurance, and they just see a house in a Zillow calculator and think, oh my gosh, I love this house, I can afford it. But that's not super realistic way to gauge it. But usually there's one house that makes them come out and find a realtor and, oh my gosh, I want to see this house. And then they never feels that they miss out on that house because other buyers are already pre-approved and write an offer and get that house. And then it kind of starts from there of. Yeah, that's exactly, I mean, it never happened to us that way for me and Abby, but like when I think about it, I was just like, that happens to so many people. And then I was just like, and now like if you are pre-approved and you are ready to buy, like if you find that house today, you could go make that offer really quickly. You jump on it. Yeah. Yes. And that's, exactly, you might get, pre-approved for $500,000, but if that monthly payment is over what you want to spend, we narrow it down and look in the price point that makes you comfortable. You don't want to be house poor. Right. Mm-hmm. And be spending all of your money on living, So, start the process now. Get a feel for what you can afford, what you want to afford, and then we kind of gauge the neighborhoods and the market. And I imagine that helps you out a lot, because then if you have a client, then you're also, because you see it all, and you're like, what that person needs and what they're looking for, and you're like, and you can send them listings. I'm sure, and that's why people choose to work with someone like you, right? I think so. Yeah, a little bit of individual, a plan is the best route. Also, if I'm thinking of investing, I should actually probably start this process now. Now that I'm thinking about it. Yes, Brennan, not when you're retiring in 20 years. You got to do it now. Oh, man, that's so true. Oh, man, I need to talk to my investor. I could just use that money to buy a house. I don't know. I don't think about that. It's really, really things like these type of conversations that I feel like nobody's hearing about in Spokane. I feel like people are just like, well, I can't afford it because the market's bad, and they do nothing about it. And I think that's why I wanted to start this, conversation with you on a quarterly basis, is because when you have these conversations and you can hear my thought process, I feel like this is the thought process a lot of people have. I would never even think to if I want to be an investor, it'd be like, well, you need to be pre-approved, you need to do all this. And I just need to do that. Can you do that even if you don't end up investing? Oh, for sure. Okay. And there's so many creative ways to do it. So for example, the apartment complex building investment group that we got involved in. Yeah. My husband and I took a line of credit out from some property that we own. Yeah. Farm ground. We own some farm ground. We took a line of credit out so that we could invest in this housing project. Very few people have, 40, 60, 80 grand just sitting around in a bank account. That's not super common. But if there's ways you can, shift your money
in order to have your money make money for you.
Yeah.
That's the best way to do it.
Yeah, because like if you have equity like in like a Roth IRA, what other type of savings people have?
Like the 401k.
401k, like you can take money from that and put it into stuff like real estate, can't you?
Yeah,
I know you're not a financial advisor.
I was gonna say talk to a CPA for sure.
Okay.
But
I know one of those.
You get Cam, is Cam Schwer? Do you still
Well,
talk
my
to Cam
wife's a
Schwer?
CPA,
Oh, she is.
but she's
I
not
didn't
like
know
a
that.
she's not like a
Okay.
real estate CPA. Like she probably wouldn't know, but like she doesn't do taxes or anything like that. But
Yeah, some of that you'll get penalized on. Like if
Okay.
you withdraw money from a 401k,
Right,
you'll
yes.
inquire a big penalty on
Right,
that. But like equity in a house,
right, yeah,
that you can do.
yeah. No, that's interesting. I do want to talk more about that because it is something that I am interested in. And like as a Spokanite who wants to live here for my whole life, like I feel like being in control of the property is like it's more people in our city should reinvest and be able to have other properties in Spokane to help people that are moving here. Like I think I see it as a way of maybe helping more people too.
For sure.
In addition to helping me and when I want to retire.
I mean, also priorities.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Huh. Interesting. So how do people get a hold of you? What's the best way to find Taci? Is it where are all the places?
Yeah, all the socials. So Sweet Home Local, Instagram and Facebook. I have a website, sweethomespokane.com. All sorts of property searches and real estate blogs and things on there too. So
and like you do blogs and you talk about a lot of this stuff on that and they can find out. Like, I mean, yeah, I it's funny when you mentioned that I was like, oh, this is a blog. I could have gone and read all of this, and so
it's more fun to talk about.
Oh,
it.
absolutely,
It's
yeah.
great. I
I love I always do half the research, and I'm like, because if I know too much about it, I just won't ask about it. So
Yeah, well, there you go.
this is great. Would go do all those things. If you're looking to invest, buy in Spokane, go see Taci at Sweet Home Local. I'm definitely going to send my friend to you and make her text you ASAP because I know they're going to want to buy.
Awesome.
And you're great. I love working with you on this, and maybe this investment thing. I'll let you know next time. Maybe this is my homework for before our next episode is that process, and if this is something I actually want to pursue, we'll talk about that next time.
I'll send you some details, Brandon. We'll get you investing.
Awesome. Well, again, thank you everyone for listening. Until next time, peace.
Tupac's greatest hits. Speaking of changes, I wanna change this game like I'm losing in Madden, 30-6. Like that, y'all. Some people they fiend for things they've already seen. I think they wanted me to be like that, y'all. But it wasn't my scene. I started doing these things that made them say they can't do it like that, y'all. Hell no, they can't do it like that, y'all. Hell no, they can't do it like that, y'all. Hell no, they can't do it like that. Hold up. Without a day. Hey, somebody better tell Ellen that I'm on the way. Somebody tell Charlamagne, hey, I'm on the way. There ain't a stage in this world that I couldn't play. Coachella with a full live band would make sense. DJ sets